Hello there, you're watching Primetime News on News First. I'm Saturanga Puarachi.
And I'm Dasniya Thalda. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Chief Justice names 7-member bench to hear petitions challenging the dissolution of Parliament. President holds talks with DIGs on the future of the police. Will the UPFA boycott parliamentary sittings? Dr. Palita Abekon appointed chairman of the Sri Lanka Medical Council.
Chief Justice Nalin Pereira has appointed a 7-member bench to examine the petitions that have been filed challenging the Gazette notification on the dissolution of Parliament.
The bench comprises Chief Justice Nalin Pereira, Justices Buwaneka Aluvihare, Sisira Riyabru, Priyantha Jayawardena, Prasanna Jayawardena, Vijit Malalgoda and Murthu Fernando. The Chief Justice appointed the 7-member bench, taking into consideration the requests made by Udaya Gammanpila and 4 others appearing as interveners in the petitions. The petition will be examined from the 4th of December.
Partly Champika Ranawaka addressed the media at a press briefing held at Temple Trees.
Our steps are very clear. We are bringing a separate motion on the 29th to cut off the Prime Minister's expense allocation. Why? Because there is no government today. Because there is no government, the financial control is totally under the Parliament. So we will even act to cut the expenses of other ministers. We ask all law-abiding officials to act according to the orders of the Secretary of the Treasury. We also ask Mahinda Rajapaksa to put aside this prime ministerial nonsense and to allow the majority to prevail. A suitable person must be made the Premier as per the majority in Parliament.
Speaking at an event in Tangol, Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira expressed the following views.
All of you must have seen the endless use of filth. They brought knives, chili powder, lifted sarongs and shouted in filth. These were the goings on in Parliament over the last few days. If this continued, we would have had to make this unsuitable for children to watch, or would have had to make it adults only when broadcasting Parliament sessions. We must mention that the biased actions of the Speaker is one of the factors contributing to this as well. We decided now that we will no longer engage in these fights and that we will boycott Parliament instead. Then they can make all the noise they want by themselves. The Parliament sittings must be conducted decently, in a way that can be presented to the public. We will also stand by the decision that we need to elect a disciplined Parliament that people can watch.
Mujibur Rahman of the United National Party also participated at a media briefing held at Temple Trees today.
He said he will not appoint Ranil Wickremesinghe as long as he is alive. If the UNP has the majority in Parliament, it is the UNP that must decide who the Prime Minister is. We are not bound to appoint whoever President Maithripala Sirisena wishes. He can look at who is good in the SLFP and appoint them. We have no problem with that. But it is the UNP that will decide who their Prime Minister should be. Ranil Wickremesinghe has still not said that he cannot work with the President. Why should we step back? We still maintain that if Mahinda Rajapaksa can show a majority, we will go into the opposition.
Kabir Hashim of the United National Party said President Maithripala Sirisena at a meeting with foreign correspondents tried to justify the illegal removal of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe on the 26th of October.
Issuing a press release, he stated that the government that operated during this time period was in no way, quote-unquote, a Ranil Wickremesinghe government. He observed that President Maithripala Sirisena, who headed the National Unity Government, was not only a head of state but also the head of the government, and that all the decisions that were made by a cabinet that was chaired by the President. Kabir Hashim added that if there was corruption in the past 3.5 years, the President has to equally share the blame. He also added that he welcomed the appointment of a presidential commission to look into this period and insisted that President Sirisena would not be made immune to these investigations himself. Furthermore, he responded to the President's statement that he will not appoint Ranil Wickremesinghe as the Prime Minister in his lifetime, even if legally proven that he commands the confidence of the majority of the House. He called this statement out to be, quote, yet another blatant violation of the fundamentals of parliamentary democracy, unquote. He pointed out that the President has no choice but to act within the framework of the constitutional provisions and that the Constitution does not make provisions for personal vendettas. He concluded his press release by reminding President Maithripala Sirisena that he has not been elected for a lifetime and that his term as President comes to an end in less than 12 months.
Maitri Gunaratne, who is a lawyer by profession, had this to say regarding the statement issued by Kabir Hashim.
We would categorically like to say that Mr. Kabir Hashim and Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, both of them are responsible for the downfall of the previous government of Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe. Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe was clearly told by His Excellency the President that when the first bond scam came to light, please get rid of Arjuna Mahendran from the central bank. But Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe did not accede to that request. And not only Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, most of the ministries, including the ministries of Mr. Kabir Hashim, serious allegations against them. Now Mr. Kabir Hashim has got worried that the President has decided to hold a commission. Therefore, Mr. Kabir Hashim is trying to now challenge the President, try to divert the attention, saying that the President is also responsible. He should appoint a commission with teeth to take action against the wrongdoers and bring them to book. Otherwise, there is no point in appointing just commissions without any teeth. Mr. Kabir Hashim and the UNP will have to be careful, because they are the main architects of the destruction of the UNP government. And His Excellency the President, with the greatest difficulty, he had to take a lot of time to sever the relationship with the UNP, because he never forgot that the UNP supporter are the people who came and supported him.
The bond scam took place 3 months after I was elected president and he was appointed prime minister. 3 months later, they robbed the central bank again. In truth, I need to appoint a separate commission to investigate the extent of the fraud and corruption that occurred under that government. Can you remain with such a government any longer? Corruption was rampant. They were doing everything wrong and illegal. There were serious irregularities with land dealings. There were corrupt tenders.
බරපතල ඉඩම් ගනුදෙනු අයථා ගනුදෙනු සිද්ධ වෙනවා ටෙන්ඩර් වංචා සිද්ධ වෙනවා එතෙම ඔබතුමා ඡන්දයට බලයට පත් වෙන දූෂිතයන්ට දඬුවම් කරනවා කියන එක තමයි ප්‍රධාන ඔබතුමාගේ තේමාවක් උනේ. ඒතරද මේ දේවල් වසුරු පවුරුදු තුනමාරක කාලයකදී එකක් සිදු වුණේ නැහැ. ඔබතුමා ඒක සම්පූර්ණ වගයන්ව
Ranil Wickremesinghe is completely responsible for this. I did not have the police, the CID or the Attorney General's department under me. All of it was with the UNP.
ඕන් චෝදනා කරන ඔබතුමා තමයි බාධා කළේ කියලා ඒවට. එහෙමනම් එයාලට ඒක
If so, they can prove it. Are they so spineless? They had the strength to carry out all the theft and fraud they wanted. The fate of those investigations is something that must be discussed separately over several days.
The UNP's Harin Fernando had this to say today.
Yesterday I spoke about elderly MPs and this has been misinterpreted. It was portrayed that I had insulted all the senior MPs from my party. That is not what I said. I asked whether we are going to make a 74-year-old Prime Minister or whether we should bring forward a 51-year-old. You know who the 74-year-old Prime Minister is.
Navin
Dissanayake made a similar statement recently in Kandy.
We have good presidential candidates to put forward. There is no doubt about that. It could be a young person or it could not. It could be someone who is middle-aged.
Backbench parliamentarians of the ruling party convened a media briefing at the Prime Minister's office today.
We saw how Ajit P. Pereira repeatedly mentioned that they can produce 113 at any time. Before that, why don't you tell us who your prime ministerial candidate is? Is it Ranil Wickremesinghe or Sajith Premadasa or Patali? Or is it Naveen? UNP backbenchers do not like Ranil Wickremesinghe. Former cabinet ministers also don't like him. We saw also how Harin Fernando described Ranil Wickremesinghe yesterday. The backbench MPs will not support him. TNA has said that it will not support them to establish a government. We saw how JVP MP Nalinda Jayatissa said that the JVP will not support to establish a government. So how can the UNP show a majority? The only solution to the problem is to hold a parliamentary election.
He also commented about the alleged assassination conspiracy against the president.
Accusations were leveled against the UNP minister who was in charge of the police. We now see the clear connection. We have been waiting for a month. We cannot wait anymore. So we asked the president to find out who is behind the assassination conspiracy, who are the police officers behind this, and who are the politicians and the masterminds behind the assassination plot. We request the president to punish those involved in this within the legal framework. They spoke of an alleged conspiracy to assassinate the president and the former defense secretary. We conducted an in-depth impartial investigation into this matter. Neither the investigation nor audio recordings revealed any death threat to the president or defense secretary. At present, several versions of this story are circulating. It's been a month since the president took over as the Minister of Law and Order. If there is anything to prove, why are investigations not being conducted? An individual representing the Pohottuwa made a severe accusation against me yesterday. It is evident that all these are conspiracies. The appointment of the Prime Minister is the root of all this political conspiracy. If there were any conspiracy in the recent past, it was only the appointment of the Prime Minister.
The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna also convened a media briefing today, and this is what they had to say.
රටම අස්ථාවර වෙච්ච එකම මංකොල්ලේ තමයි මහා බැඳුම්කර මංකොල්ලේ.
The only theft that destabilized the entire country was the central bank theft. The bond scam destabilized everything in the country. Do they even remember Arjuna Mahendran anymore? Who imported Arjuna Mahendran to Sri Lanka? It was Ranil Wickremesinghe who imported Arjuna Mahendran. And who was it that sat him at the helm of the central bank? It was Ranil Wickremesinghe. Now Ranil Wickremesinghe is attempting to use parliament to cover up his wrongs. We saw that he has said in the newspapers that appointing a person who was defeated twice as the Prime Minister was a death blow to democracy. This is an amazing story. It is amazing that he is saying it. It would be okay if someone else said it. He has been defeated on 30 occasions as the leader of the UNP. Wickremesinghe, who has set a world record by leading a party in Sri Lanka to 30 defeats, is now saying that a person who was defeated twice cannot be made Prime Minister. The same will happen if you go to Temple Trees. As soon as he leaves Temple Trees, he must go to Sirikota. But he cannot go to Sirikota. When you consider the bond scam and the evidence compared to Basil Rajapaksa, Johnston Fernando, Mahinda Ananda, Udaya Gammanpila or Vimal Weerawansa, Ranil Wickremesinghe should be in the Välikada prison.
We're bringing you details of what's happening in the political sphere. These were the views expressed by the JVP at a media briefing in Colombo earlier today.
When the port was sold, the minister was a member of the SLFP. When the Mattala airport was to be sold, the MP was from the SLFP. The UNP and the SLFP together engaged in the selling. Both of them have to take responsibility for the destruction caused to this country. This fake cabinet has now approved the taking of another $500 million as a loan from the Chinese Development Bank. Both these groups can stop this economic slide. Today, this country is facing both a political and economic crisis. Clearly, both the no-confidence motions were passed in accordance with the standing orders. Not 2, we are willing to pass 3 or even more if they want to. We will have to present 100, maybe 1,000 until it's clear to him that his side does not have a majority and that his conspiracy is defeated. The JVP is like a diamond. We have not taken any such decisions.
The Janata Sevaka Party also convened a media briefing today.
The murderous OIC of Batalanda is the current MP Ranil Wickremesinghe. If Andra Kumara Dissanayake can place his arm on Wickremesinghe's shoulder, then he won't be contesting from the UNP next time. He can go to Wickremesinghe's home and wash his backside. Now he is running the 100 meters in Parliament for Ranil Wickremesinghe's democracy. Very soon, Anura Dissanayake will have to leave Parliament curled up like the animal that fell on the rock because it could not hold on to the branch.
Shifting your attention from the political situation here at home to the political situation in the Maldives. The Maldives Supreme Court cancelled the former President Mohammad Nasheed's 13-year jail sentence after a review of the controversial terrorism conviction.
The top court said the island nation's first democratically elected leader was wrongfully charged and the criminal court should not have proceeded to trial. Under former leader Abdullah Yamin's administration, which jailed a number of opposition leaders on various charges, the Supreme Court previously upheld the conviction in 2016. Former President Nasheed had been found guilty of ordering the military to arrest and detain the Maldives Criminal Court's chief judge in January 2012.
Various views have been expressed here and there about a caretaker government being established and how it can be done. Now, who says a caretaker government cannot be appointed?
What is a caretaker government? A caretaker government is a government that rules on a temporary basis due to the loss of election or a pending transition of power. Caretaker governments may be put in place when a government in a parliamentary system is defeated in a motion of no confidence, or in the case when the house to which the government is responsible is dissolved to be in the place of an interim period until an election is held and a new government is formed. Many countries are administered by a caretaker government during election periods. Bangladesh. The caretaker government of Bangladesh was a form of government in which Bangladesh used to be ruled by a selected government for an interim period during the transition from one elected government to another after the completion of the tenure of the former during the period between 1996 to 2008. The government of the Czech Republic, led by Prime Minister Jan Fischer, is a caretaker government established in 2009 after Marek Topalnek and his government lost the confidence vote in the Chamber of Deputies. In Australian political and constitutional terminology, a caretaker government was formed in 1901 when the House of Representatives was dissolved by the Governor-General prior to a general election to a period after the election until the next ministry was appointed. Other countries that use similar mechanisms include Pakistan and New Zealand.
Sports First, Allianz Platinum Awards 2018.
I am from Trincomalee. I chose bodybuilding as a result of the love I have for the sport. My dream is to win the Platinum Award.
Sports First, Allianz Platinum Awards 2018.
The Central Committee of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party met under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena earlier this evening. Upon the conclusion of the meeting a short while ago, the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa, said that a special convention of the SLFP will be held in Colombo under the auspices of the President on the 4th of December. Meanwhile, the SLFP Central Committee convened this evening at the President's official residence under the leadership of the party chairman, President Maithripala Sirisena.
General Secretary of the SLFP, Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa, stated that the meeting focused on future organizational arrangements and vacant electoral organizer positions in the SLFP.
Dr. Palit Abekon has been appointed as the President of the Sri Lanka Medical Council. He will serve a 5-year term. A seminar for commissioned and non-commissioned officers of the Tri-Forces was held today at the Sri Lanka Air Force Convention Centre in Athidiya under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena.
The objective of this seminar was to discuss the duties and responsibilities of commissioned officers and senior non-commissioned officers of the Tri-Forces in the face of challenges. The Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando, Chief of Defence Staff Admiral Ravindra Vijay Gunaratne, commanders of the three forces and senior military officers were present at the occasion.
The trust placed in the Tri-Forces by the entire population of Sri Lanka is at its peak now. The Tri-Forces are known to be disciplined, an institution that gives priority to state security while participating in conciliation and state development, acting first in a situation of disaster, and even being praised by foreign countries for the peacekeeping missions conducted abroad, and moreover, conducting of leadership camps in schools, government institutions and private organizations, and for compelling positive thoughts. I give you my sincere gratitude for the dedication and leadership shown in all of these instances. What I should do after retiring is a question I think that most of you face. One of the most unfortunate situations I see in this country is that the staff of our Tri-Forces retire in their prime. Other services don't face this situation. I believe that this problem needs to be addressed. I believe that this should come from you, the Tri-Forces and the Defence Secretary. The service that every single one of you have done towards the future of the country by contributing towards the country, state security, the livelihood of Sri Lankans, welfare of the people, and especially the welfare of the people in the war-stricken areas. It is spectacular how you have captured the hearts of the general public by showing your enthusiasm, dedication and friendliness. By being disciplined and participating in UN peacekeeping missions, you have earned a level of respect that not all armed forces in the world have.
ලෝකයේ සෑම හමුදාවකටම නැහැ. ඒ ගෞරවය සහ පිළිගැනීම අපිට ලැබිලා තිබෙනවා.
Let's now take a look at a few court cases.
The petition filed at the Court of Appeal seeking to claim that the appointment of the present Prime Minister and Cabinet of Ministers are illegal will be taken up for consideration on the 30th of November and the 3rd of December. The petition is filed by the leader of the UNP, Ranil Wickremesinghe, and 122 other MPs. 49 people have been named as respondents, including Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and the Cabinet of Ministers. The petition was taken up today before the bench comprising of President of Court of Appeal, P. Padman Surasena, and Arjuna Obesekara. Former chairman of the National Savings Bank, Pradeep Karyavasam, was given a 5-year prison sentence and was fined Rs 300,000. Karyavasam was found guilty over the purchase of 7.8 million shares of the finance company using NSB funds while being fully aware of the loss entailed to the government due to the decision. Pradeep Karyavasam had been charged over irregularities committed between the period of 1st of March to 30th of May during the year 2012. The case filed against former Economic Development Minister Basil Rajapaksa and 3 others was postponed to the 15th of March 2019. The order was made by the Colombo High Court Judge Ratnapriya Gurusinghe. The former minister and 3 others have been accused of misappropriating Rs 2.99 billion from the Divinaguma Development Department for the distribution of roofing sheets among beneficiaries during the 2015 presidential election. The defendants are Basil Rajapaksa, Kitsiri Ranawaka, Bandula Tilakasiri and Dr. Nihal Jayatilaka.
It's been 31 days since former President Mahinda Rajapaksa was sworn in as Prime Minister. I believe he has provided the people with nearly 31 relief measures. Taxes for all taxpayers have been reduced by 10%. A 5-year tax exemption to the agricultural sector has been granted. Fuel prices were reduced. Fertilizer subsidies were given to farmers. Prices of dal was reduced by 15 rupees yesterday. Every day a new relief is being introduced.
Meanwhile, the case against Vimal Veeravansa that was taken up by the Colombo High Court Judge Pradeep Hettiarachchi today was postponed to the 14th of January next year. The case filed by the Bribery Commission was for allegedly earning Rs 75 million by unknown means other than his lawful earnings during his tenure as a minister under the former government.
Ranil Wickremesinghe does not have a majority in Parliament. Mahinda Rajapaksa has the confidence of 104 MPs, while Ranil Wickremesinghe has only 101. Ranil Wickremesinghe does not even have the confidence of his own party members. Harin Fernando publicly stated that the UNP needs new leadership. The solution is the decision taken by President Maithripala Sirisena to pave the way for an election. The buying of MPs was not directed at us, but at Ranil Wickremesinghe.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයාගේ කුළුපග මිත්‍ර අනුර දිසානායක මහත්මයා.
නමුත් අනුර කුමාර දිසානායක මහතා කියනවා ඔහු රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතාට සහාය දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා.
It is clear to the whole country that Anura Kumara Disanayaka is supporting Ranil Wickremesinghe using democracy as an excuse.
ඒක නොදන්නේ එතුමා විතරයි.
A troubled listed company that was accused of having close links to a state bank in the country has reported a loss of 1 billion rupees in the time frame that ended on the 30th of September.
Economy Next reported that MTD Walker showed Rs 1.1 billion in negative earnings for the quarter, unchanged from a year earlier. Allegations were levelled recently at Jehan Amaratunga for obtaining facilities totalling Rs 10 billion for this company as the executive deputy chairman. The loan was obtained from the People's Bank, while Amaratunga was serving as a director at the same bank. Issuing a letter at the time, the People's Bank noted that the bank had granted loan facilities to MTD Walkers PLC after a proper evaluation of the projects. The bank went on to note that the loans were granted only after considering the basis for the quantum of loans granted was the business scope of the company and the repayment capacity of the company. At present, the company's debt has accumulated to a level where the company's revenue is barely sufficient to reservice such debt. Significant questions arise as to how well assured the People's Bank's chances of recovery are.
The first day of the National Labour Law Symposium, organised by the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, was held today at the Jike Hilton in Colombo.
The two-day event will be held under the theme Labour Regimes for a Sustainable Sri Lanka. Many distinguished guests spoke at the event.
So it is important that in the road to development, that we as a country should ensure that the environment that we create in the labour field meets with the necessary international standards. So we know that though we have our labour law regimes, we can't say that we are 100% have provided the protection of not being exploited by the relevant agencies or people that who employ not only youth but even the others.
Our economy is generally, we look forward for foreign investment for our economy. Do not forget that projects like Port City and various other projects are coming, and that means there are more employees, more employers, and more factories, more business, and of course on top of that there will be more industrial disputes. So if we don't have an effective labour law regime, well, they will go to some other neighbouring countries, and this has posed a challenge, particularly in face of the situation where some of the neighbouring countries have effective labour law regimes.
As a minister, of course, it is my duty to look into all these, aspects and to facilitate the entire judiciary system to upgrade the standards up to the international standards. So we all talk about sustainability. That is, it's on the table of all member countries of United Nations, 193 countries. So therefore I know the importance of upgrading our laws, matching to the present situation internationally.
John Keel's Foundation conducted a public transport campaign to coincide with the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women for the third successive year.
The 25th of every month has been designated as Orange Day by the UN Women Campaign Say No, Unite, launched in 2009 to eliminate violence against women. The 2018 theme is Orange, the World, #HearMeToo, and like previous editions, the date marks the launch of 16 days of activism that will conclude on the 10th of December 2018, International Human Rights Day. This year's campaign by the John Keel's Foundation is targeting bus commuters within the Colombo city limits through a sticker and leaflet campaign with a particular focus on the importance of reporting incidents of sexual harassment. Teams of volunteers from John Keel's Foundation will be carrying out the campaign in prominent locations in Colombo, including bus stands in Peta, Boralla, Gunasinghapura and Bastian Mawatha throughout the day to create awareness.
Skipper Joe Root led England to their first overseas series sweep in 55 years after they beat Sri Lanka by 42 runs in the third and final test today. Thank you for watching.
Good night.